This section covers how to secure network resources to protect your Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, or Amazon VPC. A key security design principle is to apply security at all layers. This diagram illustrates how this applies to securing networks. At the network level, you can add a Network Access Control List, or Network ACL. And you can protect the instances within the VPC using security groups. By using both network ACLs and security groups to control traffic, you reduce the risk of accidentally exposing resources to unwanted traffic. Both network ACLs and security groups let you create rules to filter network traffic, but they protect different parts of your network environment. Think of your VPC subnet as an apartment building, and the resources in that subnet as the apartments. A network ACL is like the doorman, who makes sure that only residents get into the building. Once inside the building, a security group is like a lock on an apartment door, which limits who gets into the apartment itself. So security groups protect the resources, and network ACLs protect the subnets. Let's look a bit closer at the distinct features of each. Security groups are stateful firewalls. This means that if an inbound request is allowed to an instance, the outbound response is allowed. When you create a VPC, it has a default security group. By default, there are no inbound rules, so no inbound traffic is allowed and all outbound traffic is allowed. You can add rules for both inbound and outbound traffic. With security groups, you can only create allow rules. You can't create a deny rule. Security groups can span multiple availability zones, and you can define relationships between security groups. In this example, business applications in instance 1 and 2 are in the same security group. The security group allows inbound HTTPS traffic. Now, let's compare this to network ACLs. Network ACLs are stateless. This means they don't keep track of whether an outbound request is related to an inbound request. They evaluate every inbound and outbound request. Network ACL rules can either allow or deny traffic. Rules are numbered and evaluated from lowest to highest until a match is found and the traffic is either allowed or denied. Each subnet in your VPC must be associated with a network ACL, and a default ACL comes with your VPC. The default network ACL allows all inbound and outbound traffic. But all network ACLs also have an inbound and outbound rule numbered with an asterisk that denies all traffic. This rule is evaluated last, so it denies any traffic that hasn't been matched by an earlier rule. In the example here, inbound HTTPS traffic from a specific IP on port 443 is allowed. And any outbound HTTPS traffic on that same port is also allowed. Any other inbound or outbound traffic will be denied. This table summarizes the key distinctions between security groups and network ACLs, and it's a good slide to review in your student guide. For VPC subnets that receive external traffic, organizations might want to use AWS Network Firewall to add an extra layer of protection. This is a stateful, managed network firewall for Amazon VPC, and it includes intrusion detection and prevention. As shown in the example, you deploy it in a firewall subnet that inspects all incoming VPC traffic. External traffic is routed to the firewall subnet, and the route table for the private subnet accepts traffic only from the firewall subnet. If your primary need for connecting to an instance in a private subnet is to perform maintenance, you might consider setting up a bastion host. A bastion host can minimize the chance of potential attack on resources in your private subnet while still allowing restricted access for server administration. A bastion host typically runs on an EC2 instance in a public subnet, as shown in this example. An administrator is granted access to the bastion host through a security group rule. Options and details for securing your network can be confusing. The key things to remember from this overview are the distinctions between the options discussed. Security groups are stateful, and their rules specify what inbound and outbound traffic is allowed for a resource. Network ACLs are stateless, and their rules can be both allow and deny for inbound and outbound traffic for a subnet. To add additional protection to your private subnets that receive external traffic, use AWS Network Firewall. If you need to do maintenance on an EC2 instance in a private subnet from an external network, you might use a Bastion host.